Oh, well, hello, wonderful, beautiful, wrestling and broadcast of the Maverick Nation. I am the Dark, the Shadow, the Maverick, the Dark Shadow Maverick. And I know I said something about there being a second Sonic thing, but with Naruto. But I really wanted to do this. I know I basically finished up on the, ShigaDeku, and I'm, still in the midst of, well, the Totodeku. But I really wanted to do a third one, but this time with a series villain. That being Shigaraki, Tomura Shigaraki, to be exact. So, ShigaDeku. And that's basically what I'm going to call this, ShigaDeku, with a little bit of a twist in the title. Basically, what if ShigaDeku, but it was a secret? And that's basically the title, what if ShigaDeku, but it was a secret? Sort of, kind of, maybe. Basically, one of those relationships where, because of the situation and the people around the situation, you kind of got to keep it a secret, like a big secret. And considering who these two people are, that would definitely be the case if they wanted this to continue. Like anything with this. And when exactly will our story be starting? Well, basically we gotta see the background behind these characters. We basically anyone who's been, know about, My Hero for a certain amount of time, or Boku no Hero if you're in Japan, or are just Japanese in general, know about Shigaraki's backstory, and that his name is actually not Shigaraki, it's Tenko Shimura. But, less, I talk about that, whatever. And so, yeah, I got, well, seeing as Izuku, basically ever since he was 5, he was pronounced porkless. And, that basically destroyed his life because the one who used to be his friend, Katsuki Bakugo, now turned his bully. And his mother couldn't even say any encouraging words, just that she was sorry. His father left him because he was like, you must have, cheated on me. I would never have a corkless son unless, that was, a thing. So, yeah, that happened. So, not only did his, childhood best friend turn into a, bully, but his father left. And, the school doesn't seem to even acknowledge, what's been happening to him. And, they only seem to really encourage it. Especially the staff. Seeing as they put Bakugo on such a high pedestal because of his flashy ass quirk. And basically seem to consider Izuku non existent. Because of the fact that he does not have a single quirk at all. Basically quirkless. And basically it's been this way sort of, both of them reeling from their own type of injuries. Shigaraki because of his own emotional stress, causing him to itch his body, and basically something, causing him to become all chipped and chapped and whatever. And, the scratches and the chap, whatever, just all over, just making him a mess. Not to mention all the damn hands. And, well, on Izuku's side, Bakugo is relentless whenever it comes to bullying him. More and more each and every day. Absolutely fucking relentless. regardless. And he's even, several times tried to kill him. Like, legit tried to kill him. So yeah, Izuku has his fair share of brutal injuries, brutal scars from said injuries, you know. But he tries to make sure that his mother doesn't see, but regardless, she does end up, finding them. And, well, she's trying to talk to Mitsuki about this to punish Bakugo so he'll stop doing this. But regardless, he just keeps on doing it. And it just keeps getting worse, worse, and worse. And so, yeah, you could indeed say that indeed, wow, Shigaraki and Izuku are very, not alike. They are also very alike in a sense. Both of them have shit lives, and both of them are extremely, scarred from certain events of their, life. And so, yeah. Basically, when Izuku does the whole, actual ShigaDeku start. Well, it's simple. Basically, whenever Izuku decides, to do his whole thing, the last day of middle school and the whole double sludge villain attack, and basically whenever that's all over, and, well, basically after everything, that happened in canon, basically Izuku deciding, like, basically after being helped not to trip by Ochako because she uses her quirk to, make sure he does not trip. And, well, basically finally entering the whole thing and taking the entrance exam, and actually getting the acceptance letter. But, he's not exactly going to act like he didn't notice someone out of the corner of his eye before he entered the building. And so, once he had finally exited the building, he would realize the person was still there. Only instead of being next to a tree like they were before, they were now just on a bench that was barely out of the view of anyone walking by. It seems like they got bored. Though, Izuku would see that they were not asleep, just bored. Or at least that's what it would look like at first. And then basically be like, so you finally took the damn thing. Tell me, how was it? And Izuku would just be like, stranger danger. And, Shigaraki just, touches Izuku's chest with 4 fingers, with both of his hands. And, would just explain, that, well, how his quirk works. If he touches them with 5 fingers of his hand, or hands, he'll disintegrate him. But he's not doing that. He's only touching him with 4 of each hand. And, well, basically, Izuku's like, if that's the case, then what's up with that? Are you gonna try to kill me or not? I mean, I legit just, finished the test, and I haven't even gotten an acceptance letter. What have you been doing? Why have you been waiting for me? This doesn't make any damn sense. And Izuku just takes his hands, Shigaraki just takes his hands off Izuku, and just the fact that you actually thought I was going to kill you is hilarious. Come, follow me. I want to share with you some secrets. And against Izuku's, feeling that, better judgment, he doesn't need to follow this person. I mean, they do look a little bit older than him, but not by much. And, well, whenever they do get a, decent amount of way, the fact where basically no one could see them, basically, Shigaraki's just like, I saw how you were doing. You look pretty badass for someone who barely had any experience with the quirk. So, tell me, how does it feel? The whole feeling. So long without any power, and then you finally just crop dust that entire test. It's like an entire wave of several enemies. And then you get to the actual final boss. After taking on so many mini bosses, it must have gotten boring for a while. So they finally decided to step up and give you the actual final boss. How did it feel, taking down the final boss and leveling up? I wonder how much experience points you did get for saving that girl. And yes, I do indeed have certain eyes everywhere, so I could indeed see what was going on. Damn, that written exam was probably the worst way you could give someone a tutorial battle ever. I mean, just how stupid do they have to be to not think that you wouldn't be able to pass that? Worst tutorial ever. And, Izuku would be like, what do you compare all that to that? So, anyways, what is it you want me here for? Just to talk about the damn test or what? And, Shigaraki would basically just be like, oh, my manners. ShigaDeku. Tamada ShigaDeku. And basically, Izuku would realize now it was just 3 fingers. I guess just for extra safety precaution. Is what Izuku's thinking. And, Izuku only holds 3 fingers up with his hand whenever, they're going to shake. Almost like some sort of, humor. And Shigaraki's like, I like your style, kid. You get people real easily. If you actually use that kind of thinking for everyone you meet, you might actually be able to read people a lot better. And not just be so fall prey to such kind of guys like him make me sick. And more and more, basically, they, start talking. Izuku and Shigaraki. The more and more, they start to figure out about each other. And, well, this actually finally ends up with, whenever, Izuku asking about any friends or family, well, Shigaraki is actually more or less just like, oh, you don't want to meet my friends. And then family, well, the only thing left of them is all over my body. And I had no control over that. It's another thing that I don't really want to talk about. And Izuku can actually sense that, well, this actually is something that he doesn't want to talk about, and that's because, Well, whenever Izuku does sense that, he exactly knows 100% the reason why he doesn't want to talk about it. No one will want to talk about that. At least no one in the right mind. Or actual state of emotional or like mental state would want to talk about it freely. Just like from first meeting someone. But technically it's like second meeting someone because, he saw Shigaraki whenever he first, got close to actually entering UA. He saw him, basically leaning up against a tree and, waving. And it didn't really seem like anybody could see him. So, basically, Izuku's thinking this guy's pretty good at being, hidden. For someone who seems so sporadic in their thinking. He seems really good at hiding. Whenever he wants to make sure he is not, seen. And basically Shigaraki's just like, from what I can tell, you're probably thinking about me being really good at hiding. Well, a certain member of my friends, friend circle, I guess you could call it that, helps with that a lot, actually. But that's pretty much mostly what he's good for. Sort of warp gate. And again, considering that he basically has to follow mine and Master's command, that's the only thing that he can really do. Could you really consider him an actual friend? And that's when basically Izuku would understand, oh yeah, that's definitely why he wouldn't want, him to know about his, actual friends in parentheses there. Because they don't really seem much like friends, more like a master and a servant. That can basically use their quirk to warp him out of any situation that he doesn't want to be a part of. Or just at random. And basically has to follow said rules unless overridden by this said master guy. Not really said, but, Izuku was able to figure out regardless. And basically Shigaraki would be like, that's what another thing I like about you, Izuku. You're very quick on your feet. You're really smart. Too smart for UA. But I sense that you're not really going to change your mind on things. But you're too much. Hey, God, please stop doing that. Sorry, talking with God there for a second. Anyways, the story. Since I can't really change your mind, but I really don't want to lose you on this or anything. You actually seem like a relatively good listener and friend. If I can actually call you that, would you mind? Or I feel so on asking this. And Izuku's like, oh, that's another thing why you were scratching. You're nervous. Well, if it helps you any, you'd probably be my first actual friend that would probably stay my friend. I'm not really 100% sure about that once you actually figure out, if you ever figure out that I'm. And Shigaraki would just interject with, quirkless. Please, Izuku. I already knew that from the way everything. Plus the info that Master gives before I go anywhere. You really think I wouldn't have noticed? And, Izuku would just be like, yet you're still willing to. And Shigaraki just like, come on, Izuku. Like, he has his, hands on his shoulders, but, like, missing fingers, like, certain fingers so they just doesn't dust him. And it's just like, come on, Izuku. We can be friends. Regardless of your, situation or not. But since that quirk of yours is the quirk of someone I really don't like, but that's my personal, past problems. And regardless of how I feel about certain ass, I'm now really willing to put that on you. No, you seem like someone who doesn't deserve that kind of punishment. You're better than him. You're better than all of them. That's right. Feel off of you at least. Something about you gives me vibes that you really are better than all of them. And that you really do need a confidence boost. And so, I'm willing to be your friend if you let me. That will help. And so, Izuku really feeling that it's nice that he actually gets to have a friend, but he really does indeed seem to have a distaste for All Might and a lot of other heroes, and just people in general. And though, regardless of that, Izuku feels like he can, forget all about that if, this means, he can finally actually have something good in his life. Besides, it's not as if he completely disagrees with life, what Jigaraki's, taking down, actually, telling Izuku, it's not as if he completely disagrees with his, train of thought, if at all. So actually, indeed, they are quite similar, and more than just appearance. And, Izuku actually heard about something in the support course, that, someone in Island had been helping with a certain David Shield, and so he actually got these on a discount. Certain things that would help with, something that had been bothering Tanko. His, the way his, certain, quirks about himself had, caused him to do to his own body. Basically something that would, lessen the damage, if at all, in a way, or ways. Though they really don't seem to be quite ready, and even if they were, it's very situational. And, Shigaraki's like, thanks, but no thanks. It's really been nice talking to you, Izuku, but I can sense from your body language that you're probably noticing that it's getting late, and, well, I have a certain someone to go back to, and you do too. After all, Master would be most displeased if I just... never mind. And, whenever Izuku hears something about a Master, well, regardless of that, he also knows that his mother would be pretty disappointed too. And so he's like, yeah, Shigaraki, but just so you know, he just gives him a hug. And he's like, that's for being my first ever true friend. Tomura Shigaraki, thank you. He's like, Tomura Shigaraki, thank you. And Shigaraki's just like, thanks too, Izuku. And the only thing that he can really think to do before just up and leaving is to indeed reciprocate said hug with his own. just making sure to leave certain fingers out of that said hug in order to indeed not dust Izuku. And that's whenever Izuku suggests, possibly, you know, if not, the certain discs, possibly some sort of gloves out of the certain support gear, and that he actually did have some stuff on him, and one of those stuff being the gloves. They could indeed help with that whole situation. And so, indeed, at least Tenko decides to take those, as a sort of present. And, Shigaraki, Tenko, whatever. And Shigaraki decides, if, Izuku decided to give him something, then he should at least, be able to, repay him the favor. A favor for a favor, if you know what I mean. But, he's thinking, and he doesn't really know what to give him. That is until he remembers how Izuku seemed to be, befriending to him, even after hearing how he felt about All Might. And knowing that he has more than one of these, definitely having more than one of these, and proposes, Izuku, basically looking at Izuku and trying to make a, accurate, assumption of his size, would present Izuku with a certain shirt that basically has a sort of skeletal version of All Might's face, and with mouth open and between the jaw and the top of the mouth, the words in a certain crimson red saying "I am dead," and it just being an overall black shirt with that on the front. As sort of a token of their friendship. And, well, feeling, like this would be something more casual to wear, but then again, thinking maybe if he did wear this, out and in front of, the people that were part of his class, but not exactly to school, but just more or less in front of people that were a part of his class, he could get some pretty interesting interactions, like reactions from certain people, if he just started wearing this. And so, they do indeed do a sort of three-fingered handshake, because, and that's until they remember, with the gloves on, they don't really have to do that. So, a full-on handshake. And one final, brotherly love hug before they leave. And since, Shigaraki's a total nerd, and Izuku's a total nerd, they do some sort of live long and prosper sign right before they just, dip. Like, Shigaraki going through a sort of a warp portal thing that appears out of freaking nowhere through this tree that he was previously leaning on before Izuku went in the building, and Izuku just indeed just casually walking, not really, trying to be in a rush. And, regardless of if he was or not, he still would probably be late either way, since it was already getting dark. So, they get there in relative time, both of them, to their respective places. Shigaraki to the villain bar, and Izuku to his house. Of course, making sure to, not wear the whole I am dead thing in front of his mother. Just making sure that all the measurements were indeed fit for him, and actually being like, wow, Shigaraki's actually pretty good at telling my measurements, just from looking at me. Damn, he's good. It actually fits pretty good, better than most of my clothes, actually. And basically, them both, entering their respective areas, respective, places of residency, with pretty warm, feeling hearts, warmer than they had ever felt for a long time. And for once, Izuku didn't watch that whole All Might debut video before bed. And, Inko noticing that, well, she'd be like, well, he seemed rather happy. Wonder what he did while he was out. That made him so late. Only returning at 9 p.m. whenever he usually returns at least 7 at the latest. See, I don't want to act like Inko wasn't worried. And whenever it came to Kurogiri and All For One, well, All For One didn't really seem to give a damn. And Kurogiri, well, whenever noticing that, Shiraki seemed to be more relaxed than ever after that whole thing that seemed to take longer than, it was probably supposed to, happen. Basically, kind of speculative, but then again, both, For One and Shigaraki are his bosses, so can't really pry too much unless he wants to, And then there's, Dr. Ujiko / Garaki, and, well, he doesn't really have all that much of an opinion on anything to do with anything with Shigaraki. Unless it's in order from All For One. And on the prospect of the actual first day of UA, well, it actually goes relatively in canon. Only Izuku seems much more happy and actually seems to know where he's going. And whenever it comes to the actual whole quirk, thing, doing all the different activities, well, first of all, we have to address a big elephant in the room, which is through the entire thing, basically, Izuku doesn't even really talk to anyone. Doesn't even bother trying to stop, the whole thing with Bakugo and Ida. Just goes to what he believes to be his seat, and, because of the fact, the entire reason why he's not talking to anyone is because he's actually texting someone. Because, while Shigaraki was given the whole live long and prosper sign, and Izuku was doing the same. Basically mouthed something about giving phone number, and Izuku did the same. So yeah, they gave each other their phone numbers, at least some sort of form of contact. And so that's basically what Izuku would be doing. A sort of like a phone number / text thing. Basically, he would be texting Shigaraki. And, the whole entire thing that would have said, the name of the person or some sort of form of, like, identification would actually be under, a sort of, like, glitch thing that would just make it look like a little harmless little app. And Aizawa wouldn't really care because he would be half asleep. Anyways, so. And if you're wondering what they said to each other, Izuku and Shigaraki, well, Shigaraki would really just address the fact that he was bored out of his mind. And Izuku would do that too. He would literally address the fact that he was bored out of his mind. We're just like really anxious to actually get to the important shit. And Shigaraki would be like, oh, you too? You finally want to stop, actually level grinding and actually get to the frickin', at least the mini boss. If not the final boss, at least the mini boss. And, actually starting to actually figure out what Shigaraki means whenever he says stuff like this. It's just the way of saying certain things that he's decided to make for himself. And Izuku, just now starting to figure out all this. He'd be like, yeah, it's really, getting, agitating, doing all this farming for for XP. But at least it will help make the, mini boss a little bit easier. But I don't think it's really going to help all that much with the final boss. May need a little bit to, sort of, actually get some armor on. And he only really says this around the time that Aizawa says, to put on their PE forms. Whenever he said, put armor on, he basically meant, that he was, going to get his PE uniform. And Shigaraki, being all like the video game nerd that he is, would understand this wholeheartedly. Somehow. But then again, League of Villains do have their informants. Anywhere and everywhere, even in UA. So it's not like he would be completely blind going into this. Shigaraki, I mean. And so Shigaraki will basically just be like, inform me what happens after you're done with your whole, experience farming, to the max. And that basically means like inform me what happens after you're done with your whole core cap or whatever test. And, he's gonna be like, sure. And, basically, we get around the same scores in the original. And, well, Izuku would basically like, well, my whole little fetch quest / experience farming wasn't exactly the best venture, but it wasn't exactly the worst either. Hey, technically, little mini boss here was actually able to fool everyone into actually doing their hardest, because he said if they didn't, he was going to, ban them eternally. And, Shigaraki knowing exactly what Izuku was actually meaning to say is like, damn, your mini boss is freaking jacked. And all sorts of freaking Black Air Force energy. And, Izuku would just find, Shigaraki's, whole entire thing within basically almost everything that he says being a video game reference or something like Black Air Force energy. So, yeah, damn. So, basically, whenever it came after all that, well, don't act like none of the students, didn't notice that Izuku was basically texting somebody. And, certain, gossipy people, aka Miyashido, would want to know about that. Want to know about Izuku's freaking social life. However, because of the fact that Shigaraki's entire contact was basically disguised as a little harmless app, like Honey or something, basically, or like a portable version of Among Us. So, yeah. Yeah, so basically, no one would have really actually gotten no. And that would be perfectly fine with Izuku, and especially perfectly fine with Shigaraki, because he didn't want anyone to know about that. And whenever it finally came time for the Heroes vs. Villains mock battles, I mean, you know, Shigaraki would want to kind of hide it, but deep down inside, Izuku would know that he was worried for him, especially considering who his opponent was, or opponents. One of them being, his childhood friend, his childhood bully, Bakugo. But basically, Izuku being straight up in front with Shigaraki, and this little text he would have made to him before entering, being like, I'm not going to take his shit anymore. I assure you that. I am not taking his shit anymore. And basically, Shigaraki would just respond with a thumbs up emoji. And, Izuku would just respond with, at least it's not the emoji movie. And, Shigaraki responding with absolute LOL, like Lemafo, like laughing my head off. Good one, Izu. And basically, Izu kind of like being like a pet name, like for, Shigaraki to call Izuku forever, now and again. And, the whole pet name that Izuku has for Shigaraki being Shiga. Basically being like, nice going, Shiga. And, Shigaraki just being like, damn it, you're good. And basically that would end their whole text, because by the time that happened, basically they, Izuku and, Ochaku would be called up to, be the hero team, and, basically all that shit would happen. And by the end of the day, well, then, Shigaraki would be like, he would basically freaking FaceTime Izuku this time. FaceTime him this time. And, Izuku would be like, usually you don't FaceTime me. And, well, I was like, what's so important that you need to FaceTime me? And Shigaraki would just be like, I need to talk to you, face to face. And just going out without really all that much of a disguise would kind of be, worrying. But I didn't really have all that much time for anyone's bullshit. So I need to get to you really quick. And it's the fastest way I figured that it would be. And, and basically Izuku being like, oh, typical Shigaraki. Always rushing to things. Typical Shiga. Always running into things. And basically Shigaraki being like, Don't do that, me, Izu. I'm actually concerned. I'm supposed to lead the charge for a certain attack on a place known as the USJ, and from our informant reports, you and the rest of the class are supposed to go there as a field trip, and even the space hero 13 will be there. And we even have this thing that's supposed to kill All Might, Hayanomu. Though, if indeed that asshole doesn't show up, I don't want to have to kill any, like, if I tell it to kill all the kids, it's going to probably include you in there, and I just don't want, you know? And, Izuku's like, wait, Shigaraki, are you... Just, wow. I didn't know we were that close. And, Shigaraki would just be like, dude, you are my only actual friend. Like, Kirogiri is our warp gate, and, All for One's my master. None of them are my friends. Not even damn Garaki. He's especially not my friend. But you are completely and totally different. You are my only friend. My only friend. So I can't do it. Not to you. The others don't really care, but you, if the Nomad were to kill... I can't even say it. I'm so weak. And Izuku would be like, oh, hell no. Tomura Shigaraki, you are my only friend. Bakugo sure as hell isn't going to admit to being my friend anytime soon, and neither do I want him to be my friend, or either of his cronies, wherever the hell they are. You are my only friend. Not even, Chanka or Ida are anywhere close to how I feel. I think, Shigaraki, we might not just be friends. We feel like how certain people feel whenever they're really, really close. And Shigaraki would be like, well, I do get certainly defensive whenever it comes to even getting close to mentioning you in front of Kirogiri or Goraki. And I don't even know what I would do if Master actually even remotely figured out anything about us. And, Izuku would be like, and that's just it. You mentioned us. And I know that doesn't always have to mean that word like that, but the proof is in the pudding, man. I can't believe. And, Shigaraki would just be like, but if that's the case, then we're both screwed. Eventually, they're gonna find out eventually, and you'll never be able to become what you want to be. And God knows what will happen to me if I don't get thrown out. I'll probably become a damn... And, just as he's about to say Nomu, and basically, right before he would even be able to say that, Izuku would just be like, hell no. Never. I would never allow that to happen. And Shigaraki would just be like, you don't even know where the hell I am right now. And, Izuku would just be like, yeah, but I know one thing. I will never let that happen to you. Regardless of any of that. I will never let it happen. And that's where it basically just clicks, to both of them whenever Shigaraki says this. And I will never let those do that to you. You deserve so much more. But this, just, you deserve to be happy. And, Izuku would be like, and you don't? And it would just click for the both of them. They do feel that way about each other. And that, if it is actually to work out, that they do need to keep this a secret. But that sure as hell isn't going to keep them from actually exploring it, the whole thing that they're feeling. Or things. Hell no. They finally figure out what it is, and the primary thing seems to be some sort of love or infatuation or whatever. And so basically, once they had both, ended the call thing, Shigaraki would just, tell Kurogiri that, he, needed some time to, breathe, to think. And so Kurogiri would make a little warp portal whole thing, and, well, it basically from there, whenever he went out of the warp hole, he would find what seemed to be a relatively, close location. As what he does know is that Izuku does live in Wisatafu, Japan. He lives in Wisatafu. His house is next to the Bakugo household. And from all the damn yelling, you can definitely tell where the Bakugo household is. And so, it has to be one of these. My instincts lead me more towards here. And, well, he would just, try to find one of the windows. And he would. A window into Izuku's room. And Izuku would see, Shigaraki, and would be like, dude, I got this. And, Izuku would fiddle around with the whole thing, and he would finally get his window open, so that Shigaraki didn't have to break the damn thing and alert Inko. And basically would be like, man, thanks for coming, so that I didn't have to search for you. And basically they would both surprise each other, whenever they would just not only go in for a hug, but like, taste that shit. And basically they would both say to each other, no one ever figures out about this. And then they would both say to each other again, agreed. And then again, agreed. Like affirmative. And then they would go in for it yet again. And, well, right before the USJ attack, you know, Izuku and Shigaraki wouldn't be able to stand it anymore. They would just, Izuku would tell him, basically his mother, that he would hate lying to her, but, he indeed would. And he was just having an extended stay with some friends, that it wouldn't, do any harm. And his mother would hesitantly agree. However, what would really be going on is, Shigaraki knowing somebody by the name of Jiren, basically, this Jiren person, basically helping them find a certain place, a certain, love motel / hotel, whatever, and, to where they could go to where they could have some peace and quiet. The two of them. All for one, and Kirigiri and, Garaki, not really wanting to bother Shigaraki because they know how Shigaraki gets, in his moods certain times. Plus, Shigaraki promised to be back so that, they could indeed be ready for the takedown of All Might. Be back eventually. And because of this whole big distraction thing, neither, faction knowing what the other was doing, basically, oh boy. You could indeed say, can you feel the love tonight? Because if this would indeed be the last time that Shigaraki would ever see Izuku, not dead, they wanted to get some, things out of the way. However, once they were done and basically woke up first thing in the morning, before they would go their separate ways, Izuku would say something that would kind of, weird, Shigaraki out, like if it was a possible what if scenario, like if, this all shit had never gone down, like seeing as they can't really, do the traditional sense, like if they had ever, adopted. And this would be something for, Shigaraki to think on. And, this would kind of be something for them to think on. Then again, whenever Shigaraki did finally decide to go out and, not really go back, the traditional way via warp hole, which was very unsuspected, but, gives a shit. And that's whenever, Shigaraki will basically see this girl run into him and basically be like, don't make me go back there, don't make me go back to the Batman. And then basically this person would turn up with some beak mask and basically be like, oh, you see, that's my daughter. She has a tendency to run out. Be a very unruly child. We were just making sure she took her medicine and her shots. And Shigaraki, from all the time being around with Izuku, be able to tell this man was lying out of his ass. And that he was clearly abusing the shit out of this little girl. And for some reason, that just ticked Shigaraki off. Like you would not believe. And so he decided to basically, as it was basically going to look like he was going to give, Eri to this man, right at the last second, Shigaraki grabs onto this guy's hands and decays them. Because basically right after, decaying the hands, he basically cuts off the whole thing that would connect them so that he could regrow them again, making sure that he never would be able to regrow them. Basically grabbing one of his knives and then just basically, making his whole entire overhaul quirk useless. Because this would have been Kachisaki, aka overhaul, of the Shiakasai. And upon basically, just toasting this dude, that's what, Shigaraki would have realized. And then, that would just make him even more pissed. And be like, yeah, I can't let this go on for any longer. And then would basically make a call to a certain place. And basically just be like, yeah, I'm a certain individual. And, well, found this girl. Found this guy abusing this girl. Could you indeed request until both myself and my little soulmate partner, I guess you could say that's what they are ready, keep this girl in safe hands? That would be great if you could do so. And until, that's keep her nice and safe. Oh, and excuse my manners. I never even got your name, little girl. And basically, she would state she was Eri, but her quirk was a curse because of what it did to people. And Shigaraki would actually figure out by accident what exactly it did, because all of the hands on him would be destroyed, because they would have been rewound to the point where they were never even there. Rewound that much. And, well, for the first time in forever, Shigaraki would feel almost complete inside. That's whenever basically it was decided who was going to make sure that this girl, after this, was truly treated right. So, indeed, he did march over to that place, of course with a bad disguise on, because now he no longer had the hands to cover up anything. And of course the hands already sent up red flags for everyone around him. So, regardless, basically took her and did exactly that. And basically shot a text, detail and all that just happened. And the fact that, probably needs some court counseling if they were to help this, girl with her problem. It's not really much of a curse, more like a problem that, well, could only really be solved if she were to actually get actual quirk counseling and, make it to where she no longer saw her quirk as a curse, more as a blessing in disguise. And, well, Izuku would need, comment that Shigaraki did look, cuter with all the hands off. So, yeah, there's that. And, with the news that eventually when they were able to, properly do so, Eri would indeed be put in their care instead of just the, care of the daycare, local daycare of Mrs. Tafu. And then there would have been the whole dispute of who exactly would get the last, give Eri the last name of whoever. And, well, Izuku wouldn't have wanted to do it originally. That is until Shigaraki would basically bring up, his father. And, well, basically this was Izuku's chance to prove that he was a better father than his father. And that did indeed kind of encourage Izuku to indeed be like, okay, she will officially, once we, get all that over with, officially be known as Eri Shigaraki Midoriya. Because, Tomura Shigaraki. So, yeah, Eri Shigaraki Midoriya. But that's only whenever everything was, good and, gotten over with. And Eri actually liked the idea. And even the, matron of the orphanage actually say that, they could already reinstate her with that name before she was even technically adopted, as like a name that could be called her by in the orphanage before any of that even happened. And, both Izuku and Shigaraki didn't exactly find anything wrong with the deal, so they decided, sure, you can do that. Sure, that's fine. Just as long as no one on the outside ever figure out about that. And, well, this did confuse the matron of the orphanage. She decided, it's probably a personal thing, so, yeah, just go with it anyways. And, oh my god. It's raining cats and fucking dogs, and I have to take a piss. So, that's the end of This is Dark Shadow. I'm his ATL. You're you boys. Bye.